Good time zone, everyone, and welcome to the Fallout TV series on Amazon Prime, Episode 6, The Trap, Aftertalk podcast episode. I'm your host, Indiana underscore Minotaur, an autistic retro and RPG content creator on Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok. On the previous episode, we learned about Maximus's origins, where he came from, more about the intervault program between vaults 31 and 32 and 33. And that was basically pretty much it. We get a lot of that. We got a whole lot of basically not a whole lot of nothing, I feel like. It was just more character development for Maximus and more stuff about Vault-Tec and the programs that the bajillion programs that they had in the pre-war era that supposedly is supposed to help the survivors of the Great War. Episode 6. Yes, dear viewers, if you know this episode, then you know how infamous it is. The episode that made the internet go mad for about a couple of days before Todd Howard clarifying that the events of Fallout New Vegas is still canon, that the events of what happened with Shady Sands is chronologically correct within the Fallout video game timeline. So what am I talking about? I am talking about the goddamn chalkboard in this episode in Fallout 4. So instead of just playing it play by play from first frame to last frame, we're just going to talk about the chalkboard right now. So, Lucy, at some point in her stay at Vault 4, finds this classroom that has like models of Shady Sand, right? Remembering Shady Sand, because apparently the Vault 4 inhabitants are from the surface, and that whoever the few remaining survivors of Vault 4 allowed the survivors of Shady Sands in, and the rest is history, and that's how Vault 4's community is so massive. She looks at this chalkboard and the New California Republic flag. This chalkboard has many dates. Dates refer to the Fallout video game, or at least Shady Sands is part in Fallout 1 and 2. But more importantly, we get this snippet that reads, this bracket at the bottom corner of the chalkboard that reads, the fall of Shady Sands in 2277, followed by a mushroom cloud. I can't even begin to tell you the unnecessary outrage over this one little fucking statement that was taken way out of context for starters. And again, for the record, Todd Howard came out and publicly stated that the events of Fallout New Vegas happened, which happened in the year 2281. So you might be thinking, okay, so what does the fall of Shady Sands mean then? If it doesn't mean that it was overtaken by the Brotherhood of Steel, or that it wasn't destroyed in whatever catastrophe that it befallen upon. So you have to understand this statement from a historical and philosophical point of view. The Roman Empire, while it fell in 476 CE, you also have to realize and understand that the empire was slowly declining. Its purpose was slowly becoming irrelevant. Its borders were becoming weak. The culture, the identity, the whole purpose of the Roman Empire was slowly becoming outdated. It was a thing in the past, If you know your history well, then you know that it had its golden age, and then later it's slow decline. It went from one large massive empire to two empires, the Western Empire and the Eastern Empire. The Eastern Empire outlived the Western Empire well into like the 1400s. That would be the Byzantine Empire. So yeah, it fascinates me that people looked at that statement and said, "Oh, then the city must have been overran, overtaken, or must have been bombarded to hell and back." And I'm like, no, it wasn't. It wasn't anything like that, people. It was just a cultural, historical, philosophical, the whole meaning of the again, the whole meaning of the fall of Shady Sands basically means that the cultural significance of the New California Republic is slowly becoming a thing of the past, right? And hell, even so to give a better understanding, right? Why did I make the Roman Empire reference, right? Well, in Fallout New Vegas, a lot of people did not like the fact, a lot of diehard NCR supporters, even some of the troops were like, why are we overstretched? Why are we fighting the Mojave? Why can't we just secure California and just stay in California instead of expanding eastward for unnecessary fortune and glory? Yeah, Hoover Dam supplied limitless energy in New Vegas, right? But at the same time, it's like you're allowing yourself to become like the Roman Empire. You're allowing yourself to shatter our economic power, to shatter our political power, and to shatter our cultural power. Hell, the little bracket next to the fall of Shady Sands stated as such that at some point the NCR became unchallenged in California. So obviously, like with every empire, without it needs more. It needs more to sustain itself, and eventually, and sadly, much like the Roman Empire, it grew too large to control. It grew too large to maintain, and eventually its borders began to weaken. Shady Sands is the first capital, meaning that the second capital is its official capital, meaning that that capital must be somewhere up north or in San Francisco or somewhere else. So it just fascinates me that a lot of these keyboard warriors are coming out of the woodwork during that whole little stint that was on the social medias, calling out Todd Howard, calling out Bethesda, calling out Jonathan Nolan, calling out. It was just so goddamn unnecessary. Like, come on, right? So there you go. There's the whole purpose, and there's this whole conversation done. It's over with. I'm not gonna talk about this anymore. But the TLDR is that the fall of Shady Sands doesn't necessarily mean that it was overtaken, overrun, or destroyed, but rather the cultural, economical, and political power of the NCR began to wane in 2277 to the point where Shady Sands no longer became a safe haven, but rather it became open to basically whatever is across their borders. So they had to retreat their capital to somewhere else to protect the NCR body of government. Now, we don't know if the original capital even then it like if that was the case, then the NCR government would have been gone then. So clearly the NCR is still alive and well in whatever capacity. It'll be very interesting to see how they answer that question, or the fate of the new California Republic in season 2. Because if you don't know, there's already season 2 in the works. So with that said, with all that discussion out of the way, let's talk about the episode finally. The episode opens up with Cooper Howard doing an advertisement for Vault-Tec, specifically Vault 4, the vault, this very same vault that we're going to be exploring a lot in this episode and in the following episode. We get a lot of pre-war Cooper Howard in this episode, and quite frankly, the trio gets a lot of screen time here. We get a West Tech name dropped, T-45 power armor name drop, which is like, if I recall correctly, one of the, if not the first power armor ever to be made, or type of power armor. And that during this whole little thing with the Vault-Tec advertisement and whatnot, Cooper gets this little philosophy speech from Bud Askins, who's HR R&D, who tells him that the ultimate weapon that is deadlier than anything else in the world is time. Cooper and Barb celebrate this advertisement so well that they had a party at his place. Clearly, Cooper didn't want to be there. But hey, he's doing shit for Vault-Tec, so obviously he has friends in high places. Well, because of, his wife's working for Vault-Tec. We get a little funny little snippet that he loves dogs, which is why he treated dogs with a whole lot of respect. When Dogmeat got injured in episode 2, he treats him, he raises him back to health. But we also get a glimpse of the newspaper that tells that American forces have essentially are doing so well against the war against the Reds. They're being basically their boots on the ground in communist China during during that point of the pre-war period. Because you have to remember that the war didn't end in Anchorage. To make sure that China pays for everything that they have done, they invaded China. They were pushing uh far into the country before the end of the world happened. But for the sake of the show and for the fact that the show needs to be aired in China, you won't necessarily hear the Chinese the China name drop. So it's either Reds or the Far East. There you go. Cooper meets his friend Seabass, Matt Berry, who is the voice of Codsworth, who is the voice of the Codsworth model robot in the TV show. The voice actor for Codsworth is different from the games, just to clear this a bit. So Matt Berry doesn't voice Codsworth in the actual video. Although now that with the rise of AI technology and whatnot, I would not be surprised one bit if somebody mods Matt Berry's voice for all the Codsworth type models in Fallout 4 or even Fallout 3 or in Fallout New Vegas. And Cooper reveals to Seabass that because he's working for Vault-Tec, a lot of people didn't like that. Specifically, a lot of the suits in Hollywood who basically, Cooper lost a gig in Hollywood because he's supporting Vault-Tec and the whole notion of the end of the world and big business and all that. Apparently, Cooper tells Seabass that there was a big morality conflict on set, which is funny because we had a huge morality discussion in episode 3, 3 episodes ago. The flashback ends with a chilling speech from Seabass, and he says, to paraphrase all this, everyone is a product. You're a product. I'm a product. The end of the world is a product. And you got to admit, that line is just absolutely bone-chilling. The fact that that statement can actually be applied today. To pivot a bit, you think that you're really changing the world, but you're not. No matter the hashtags, no matter I'm not going to spend money or do this or do that. There's governments, big business will always find a way to make a profit because they know, as well as any other sane person out there, that if the economy collapses and the resources run dry, you're not really the hero in this. You cause this to happen. So basically, money makes the world go round, right? So we come back to present day. Cooper gets knocked out by, let's call him a sheriff, who gets escorted to this unknown location. We don't really know what this location is. It's more of like a meetup place, I guess. I don't know. But we come back to Vault 4. A dynamic duo, Lucy and Max, recover from they're slowly recovering from the events of last episode. We get some news that a lot of these Vault dwellers, as mentioned in the beginning of this podcast episode, that a lot of the Vault dwellers for Vault 4 are from the surface, and that they were very gracious that inhabitants of Vault 4 were very accepting of the survivors of Shady Sands. Refer back to the beginning of this podcast for the rant. I'm going to mention it here, and then later on when we get to the classroom scene proper, chronologically in this episode. We get a very awkward and hilarious discussion between Max and Lucy about having sex, and how Maximus refers to his dick as a pimple, which is fucking hilarious. The fact that he kept a straight face is absolutely amazing. That is cinema. That is cinema acting right there, like chef's kiss. Because I would laugh my shit off at such a statement. He's a knight, and nothing more comes of it. And again, during their stay in this episode so far, Max is the only person who notices that something is really sus about the vault. So much so that we get introduced to the Overseer. Yes, the Overseer with the one eye that also caused a lot of issues, but I just see it as a nice little hilarious nod to mutations in Fallout 76 or in the Fallout lore and world in general. He warns the two of them to stay out of level 12, apparently. What's down there in level 12? We'll find out at the near end of the episode. Meanwhile, we get another flashback. A lot of flashbacks this episode for Cooper Howard. Cooper and his wife discussing the future, dropping the name Bakersfield. If you've seen my stream or any other people playing Fallout 1, then you know that this is the location of the Acropolis. Cooper gets a little worried and skittish. The notion of everywhere on the news, it's always the end of the world is coming. The end of the world is coming, or the superpowers aren't having this little. Basically, the whole idea of peace is gone in the Fallout world. Once we get to the resource wars, that's it. There's no going back. There's no sense of peace, and Cooper just doesn't feel comfortable with what's going on. Cooper doesn't like that his wife Barb is working for Vault-Tec, and apparently Barb almost let it slip the Vault's true purpose. And if you play the games, then you would know that the vaults weren't really made to house the American populace, if you catch my meaning. I won't spoil it here because episode 8 talks about that, and I've watched all the episodes as of time of this recording, so I had to rewatch them again just to get the scripts out, because I want to make sure that the scripts and notations, because I want to make sure that I chronologically category these episodes right, because I don't want to be jumping around and all that and be like, oh wait a minute, I forgot that moment. We also get a glimpse of the resource wars and how uranium is slowly dwindling across the planet, turning friend to foe. So basically, in my what is Fallout, the resource war was the catalyst for what is the beginning of the end. How resources and the energy crisis and that uranium is just depleted, almost near depletion, all across the country, all across the globe, and you have the once proud European Commonwealth turned into a bunch of bickering city-states, and that the Middle East is waging war against each other for the last drops of resources there. And then then comes in China, where they invade Anchorage, Alaska, to get the last resources that America have to sustain their country. So again, resource wars. We get to meet Charles, because apparently during the conversation with Seabass, Seabass drops that Charles has been outed as a communist supporter. Yes, the Red Scare was a thing in Fallout. Let me as a reminder, a lot of our world is in this world, but tweaked just a bit to fit within the Fallout aesthetics. A lot of the political drama, sexism, racism, discrimination. I can be at the again, our world in their world, just with the 1950s futuristic twist. Charles basically gives Cooper a conspiracy theory that Vault-Tec is out not to save the American populace, but rather to make money, to maintain the status quo that big business rules, and that, again, going back to Seabass's conversation, that we're just a product. In this case, Vault-Tec sees us as a product. And Charles tells Cooper that if the peace talks go through, then Vault-Tec would be in ruins. All this stuff that they're doing would be pointless. Charles gives Cooper a card titled Hollywood Forever to meet with the members who disagree with Vault-Tec. We get a very awkward lunch conversation between Cooper and his wife, who questions the idea of why aren't dogs allowed in a vault. This conversation went from zero to an argument out of nowhere, all because Cooper wanted to know why aren't dogs allowed in the vault. And it goes back to Charles's conversation and Seabass's quote at the end of their conversation about how we're just a product. And you can clearly tell that Barb does not like this question whatsoever. She knows something, and if you know the lore of Vault-Tec, then you know that, yeah, it's just also Cooper kind of hilariously references to Fallout 76, or like the creation mods. So basically, to pivot a bit, in Fallout 76 and in Fallout 4, you can customize the color of your jumpsuits, I believe. Whether it be modded through the Nexus mods or through the creations program. So I thought that was pretty hilarious. In Fallout 76, I believe you can do this with your jumpsuits. I could be wrong, but again, it kind of goes back to like the attireness of the wasteland, right? How you how I guess in a stretch of in a huge ass stretch I'm making right now, is that, how people are wearing like different attires and different colors and stuff like that. So I don't know why I wanted to point this out. I thought it was really cool that Fallout 76 kind of gets this awkward drop reference, and Fallout 4 gets this awkward drop reference along with the creations program and Nexus mods. Yeah, so anywho, um, Cooper tells his wife, "I didn't fight a war for democracy to be ruled by some snotty businessman wearing a suit," which again goes back to the discussion of, how Charles believes that Vault-Tec is out for themselves. They're out to maintain the status quo. They don't care about the little guy. They want to make money. They want to make the world go round in their image. Um, and apparently we get more information about the special vault that Barb mentioned to Cooper that he and his wife and child will be staying in. Apparently this vault is going to oversee all the vaults in the country, which I found very interesting. Very interesting. We come back to Vault 4, and you can already tell this vault's sus, right? That lunch conversation, you had, this you had this scientist who has a nose on his forehead. A vault dweller has glowing blue eyes. I guess there's this one person who is eating with an oven mitt. I don't know. And then of course you have the overseer who has the one eye. Meanwhile, Max is trying to get his armor back. But more importantly, the fact that something's not right with this vault, because vaults maintain their source of power. But the thing is, here's the thing: if that's the case, then why is this vault in particular using so much power without having an issue? Oh yeah, they're using his fusion core from the power armor that they retrieved from the surface. Before he gets the armor, he gets caught by Birdie. She tells him that, hey, living in a vault is not, it's hard, it's rough, and it takes a minute to get used to. She points him to his quarters, and let me tell you, Max drank the Kool-Aid. He loves every single minute of staying in his vault. That's how they get you. And then we get the fucking godforsaken classroom. I am gonna say this again, refer to the beginning of this episode, but basically I'm gonna paraphrase that long ass statement right here, right now. The fall of Shady Sands isn't meaning to the capture of the capital, the whatever crazy ass raging thought process you had with that statement. It basically means, and it's right next to it, the cultural, political, and economic influence of Shady Sands, which is no more. It's a bygone thing, which is why Shady Sands is aptly named the first capital. If it's called the first capital, then it must be a second capital. If so, where is the second capital? Again, season 2 might answer this. We jump back to Cooper, who gets escorted to a man named Sorrel Booker, who knows Cooper. The Super Duper Market that was ransacked was owned by Sorrel, and you can kind of tell where this is going, right? Repercussions and all that. Actions have consequences and all that. Cooper fights his way out of a scuffle, I guess. I wouldn't call it a scuffle because the two sheriffs didn't know how to, or they were new to it. you can kind of tell they were kind of new to it. Cooper looks over at the wall of wanted people, but more importantly, Cooper notices the face of Moldaver. Sorrel tells him, or rather, Cooper demands the importance of Moldaver and how he remembers that that's not what she looked like. And then you begin to ask yourself, wait a minute, was Moldaver alive during the pre-war? If we come back to Lucy, who is greeted to, yeah, it's a cult. Apparently, these motherfuckers involved for are using the ashes of the fallen to bring back Shady Sands because they believe that Moldaver is going to usher in the revival of Shady Sands, the rise of Shady Sands, basically a Yavin, not Yavin 4, an Alderaan situation, right? Just for Alderaan and justice for Alderaan and all that. If you know your Star Wars mythos, your Star Wars lore. And as Lucy enters section 12, we get a little bit of snippets back and forth, and it turns out that the cult leader, or rather, the person that Cooper is meeting, the head of this group that doesn't believe in Voltek's mission, is run by Moldaver herself, alive before the bombs dropped. So it's just like, whoa, holy crap, like wow, right? Lucy notices that apparently the, I guess, unsuspecting folk are being used as test subjects. Lucy tries to escape but gets caught by Birdie and the cultists of Vault 4. And obviously this is going to end on a cliffhanger because obviously we're at the end of the episode. This episode was a lot better than episode 5. Yes, the chalkboard was infuriating, but I'm going to say this again. Use context with the statement. I cannot begin to tell you how that is important. We get more information about a little bit of contextualization with Voltek and their mission, right, to preserve the future of the American people, which is bullshit. And yeah, the Vault 4 stuff was another hilarious nod to something you would encounter in the Wasteland if you're playing a Fallout game. So yeah, good episode overall. Better than the last episode, that's for sure. If you enjoyed the episode, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, if you are listening to this on Spotify, please leave give the podcast a follow on Spotify as well. We are nearing the end of season 1. I have yet to work on because on the Fallout 1 game review, because I want to combine Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 together for this review because I have a lot to say about both games, gameplay, and everything about it. So when I finish Fallout 2, we're gonna have that conversation. Like, okay, here's the conversation and all that. Here are my thoughts about Fallout 1 and 2. And then after Fallout 2, we're gonna have a bit of a break as we get into probably Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. I'm telling you my plans now about in the direction of the streams, because right now we're heading into May. The Ghost of Tsushima is still being planned to be a Thursday and Friday game. But because of the whole Fallout itch thing I'm having right now, like, oh my god, I want to play Fallout so badly, even right now. So my main goal is still getting to Tsushima and celebrating with people who are going to be playing Tsushima for the very first time. Because that game is releasing on Steam. Yeah, Steam. But yeah, if you once again, if you enjoyed the podcast Aftertalk, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're listening to this on Spotify, give the podcast a follow, and I will see you all on the next episode, episode 7 of the Fallout on Prime episode Aftertalk. Bye bye.